Okay, you guys can see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool, awesome. So we've got a couple people on the phone. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the MVPs. We're going to quickly go down through it. We've got a ton of questions that have come in today. And unfortunately, I can't keep the attendee list up as well as the spreadsheet. So we've got, so far on the line, we've got myself, Joshua Hoskins, I'm the Salesforce MVP, Winter 13. We've got Eric, Jason, Jackie, and Mary. And we're all here to help out you guys in terms of questions that you might have. So we're going to take the questions that were originally submitted on the registration page, and we're going to ask if those people are available. We'll go through some comments and commentary, and then we can actually take more questions if we get through the end of those. So this is pretty informal. If you guys have any comments of that nature, I'll ask that you guys go ahead and put the questions inside the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a moment and go back to the chat just so I can be interactive in that control panel as well. So without further ado, let's go to BJ. So BJ, you were one of the first people to register, and you said that you would try to list a question for the meeting. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. I'll try to be brief. So we are currently a Salesforce customer. Previously we were on a professional edition, recently upgraded to an unlimited platform. Currently we are supporting multiple dealers on our platform. Dealers, you can think of them as franchises. So so the multiple dealers, our company is Neopost. We sell mailing machines, document handlers, pretty much end-to-end mailing solutions. So as far as the sales is concerned, things seem to be going fine. But now when we get into migrating a call center and so on, we are hitting on duplicate records, duplicate accounts, which are created by multiple dealers. So from your experience, how have you handled these scenarios where there is a single org, you're trying to support multiple organizations, so to speak? Is this the best approach, or is there something better than this?
This is Jason. I'll think about taking a stab at that. So I've done quite a bit of work around deduping processes and systems, and coming up with some best practices, and have worked closely with a couple of the other vendors in the space that help with this. So let me start by asking you a couple other questions first. So when you talk about multiple dealers logging into a single org, what does your security model look like? Is this something where all the dealers can see each other's stuff? Or is it locked down where if they don't own it, they don't get to see it?
They only see the data they have access to. So each dealer only gets to see their own specific data. So we have tried to control this based on the role hierarchy. Now, I'll give you a scenario.
Sure.
We deal with a lot of federal government, state government, or national customers. For example, Paychex is one of our customers. So they have multiple install locations spread throughout the United States. You could have a billing location here in New York, but their install location maybe is in Texas, California, what have you. So the channel or the franchisee based out of New York would be doing all the central billing, but the install location in Texas or California, they would be doing the servicing of that equipment. Mm-hmm. So every franchisee or dealer needs to have a visibility of that particular account.
And since they don't today, what you're saying is they're each creating their own instance of that account. So the one in Texas creates so that they can see the one in Texas, the one in California creates so they can see the one in California.
Yes, and the guys in New York, maybe they would create their own version of the install location also, because they want to know, hey, where are the machines installed? So with the parent-child hierarchy, versus Texas would also create the same set of accounts just to make sure that, okay, there is a billing which is happening out of New York. So we just don't have a control over this. I mean, they are just going and creating multiple accounts. So,
and so do you have anyone on your team who is, since they don't have visibility to each other's stuff, it's not like they could do a find duplicates and realize, oh, there's already one out there, maybe I shouldn't create a new one. So do you have anyone on your team that kind of plays that data steward role, who can say, well, a new record got created, but it's probably a duplicate? Or how are you managing that today? Like, how are you discovering that they're duplicates today? And what would you like the desired end result to be? Let me just take a stab at that, and you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong. It sounds like you're probably wanting it to be where, all right, we have one account record for paychecks that all three of them have visibility to. We don't want them to create three different copies of paychecks.
See, I'm at the corporate office, so as a system global administrator, I'm able to see all the multiple instances of accounts. But for a user just local to a dealer, he would only see that particular instance. So we have given abilities. I've tried to make a person out of each dealer as a local administrator, so he or she would have access to make sure that they are responsible for the accounts in their own dealership. But from a global standpoint or from a corporate standpoint, we see these multiple accounts, and I know it's not good, but we just don't have any way of controlling it.
So there's a few things you can probably do, which is kind of where all my questions are coming from, is to get a feel for kind of what's the right approach or what's the right combination of approaches. So, like, for example, for the visibility thing, once you identify that they are duplicates, you could merge those things together, and you can grant multiple dealers visibility into the shared account by using functions called account teams. So you can keep one account record instead of many duplicates, where they can all contribute to it and collaborate with the one record together. You can also do it using the standard sharing functionality. The account teams is basically a prettier and easier to use visual interface against the sharing settings. So where you go click the sharing button on the account record. They don't have visibility to it outside of their role hierarchy, but you can grant it to them on a record-by-record basis. Now, there's still the trick of how are we identifying that they are duplicates, in which case either you need some kind of data steward on your end because you're not going to necessarily allow them to self-police, and they can't if you're not giving them visibility. So there's a few mechanisms you can do that in. Some of it is pure process, and you basically throw people at it, and you look at reports of things created and go search. Well, that kind of sucks. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but that's certainly one way to do it if you're not able to buy tools. Now, the other way to do it is to buy tools. So looking out then for how are they getting inserted into your database. It sounds like they're being inserted manually in the UI by users. Or is it coming in through integrations with other systems, or web delete forms, or list imports? You know, how are they usually getting entered? Is it just the user in the user interface?
Yes, user interface is the primary source. But initially, when we did the data migration, I got it done from their old legacy, applications, Act, Goldmine, or Siebel, which was at the corporate. So multiple ways where we got this data.
So you'll probably need a combination of a couple different tools then. So one would be to clean up your existing data in other words, be able to scan your database, find out where there are potential dupes, and then merge them. A couple tools that are available, the most popular one, and I'm a big fan of it, is Demand Tools. If you're not familiar with it, think of Data Loader but on steroids. One of the functions of Demand Tools is that you can dedupe existing data in your database, but it also does a whole lot of other stuff. It's an admin's best friend. If you don't have it, call them up as soon as you get off this call, hand them your credit card number. But otherwise, You also need tools then to watch the point of insertion, because demand tools will only clean up what's already there. So you need to prevent the stuff as it's coming in. So there's a couple products on the market, and it kind of depends on the security model, what that person has visibility to, how you want that person to deal with it. Do you want them to insert it, and then you're going to clean it up later, and then grant the necessary visibility to the combined shared record? Or do you want them to get blocked from inserting it and then have to ask you, hey, I can't insert this record for Paychex because I'm told there's a duplicate. Can you grant me access to that duplicate? So there's a couple other tools you can look into for stuff that's being entered by a user, one of which is Demand Tools, another of which is Ringlead's product called Unique Entry, which actually I think only works on the lead object. I think that hasn't worked. I don't think that works yet on the account object. But Dupe Blocker, also by CRM Fusion, the makers of Demand Tools, would help you with that. So you can either say, allow them to insert it but then merge it, or you could say allow them to insert it but then flag it, or you could say don't allow them to insert it at all. So you have those configuration options. And so that will allow you to kind of guard the point of entry, so to speak. But you kind of have to start with the end in mind. You know, do I want them to all work from one combined record? If so, then you need to set up your sharing permissions. Then you need to start stepping back from there. Well, if they don't have visibility to it and they're going to enter it, do I want them to block it, or do I want them to allow it but then flag me to clean it up later? So think that through a little bit, but you do have some tools and processes available to you.
I think I'll agree with you that it's a combination of both process as well as the product, and we have been using sharing rules, but I think the account team probably we can explore more how we can leverage it and address.
For example, you see these guys, I'm on the phone with them. Wait.
All right, any other questions?
Hello.
Hi, Ariful.
Hey, this is Ariful from Scotia McLeod.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, yeah?
Good. Not too bad.
Yeah, good. Just a quick question. We're using a very basic form of the Salesforce, right? So right now, what we have leads, accounts, and from there we can turn them into opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is very basic. It's not as structured, but when you have on the leads, you can put multiple email addresses, or can you just only put one email address on the contact information? Because I was trying to put two, but it never works.
The lead and the contact by default only have one email address, and I believe they're set up to only accept a valid email address format. So as soon as you just stick something in there like a semicolon, or a comma to insert multiple ones, it's going to throw you an error. But now, you can create custom fields and select email as the data type of those custom fields. And depending on which version of Salesforce you're on, you can even do things. I've seen questions like this come up on the ANSYS community, where you create multiple email fields for like office, personal, or home, or other, and then you create a pick list field that says like preferred email address, and based on the option that they select in their preferred email address, it inserts that email address into the standard email field, because there are some processes like mail, and just some general things like mail merge templates and emails and stuff like that, that by default are pointed at the standard email address. So it allows you to insert the person's preferred email address, whichever one of the 2 or 3 or 4 may be, into that standard field, so that becomes the email address of record. Now, the mechanism that I used for that is called a workflow rule, and that's only available on Enterprise or Unlimited Edition out of the box, and you have to purchase it separately in Professional, and I don't think it's available on any of the lower editions, even if you tried to purchase it. So you wouldn't be able to do that, preferred email address scenario auto update like I described, unless you had access to workflow rules. But at the very least, you can create multiple email addresses on the lead record and the contact record. And if you create a custom field on the lead and you create a companion custom field on the account, contact, or opportunity, you can map those custom fields to those other custom fields when you convert the lead. So your lead has personal email, home email, work email. If you create those companion landing spots on the contact, when you convert the lead, you can map them so that they automatically get copied over.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for that.
One of the problems, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
I'm with the last caller, and sorry, did we jump queue here?
Yeah, we
yeah.
did. But,
we apologize because
we'll
wait until the other calls or the questions have been asked, and then we'll keep going.
Okay, awesome, cool.
My bad.
All right, so, hey, no worries. So next we've got Alice up. Are you out there?
I am. Hi.
Hey, Alice. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I came up with one in time for the meeting, as promised. I have a question about using joined reports. We use them a lot and love them, but I'm trying to join a report that shows my contract objects and also like opportunity products. And so I have a lookup field on the contract object to populate it with an opportunity. And of course, opportunity products are on the opportunity. But if I try and join these two reports, it tells me the only common fields are account and user. How come the opportunity is not a common field if I have a lookup to the opportunity on my contract object?
We're all kind of staring at each other. So that is not my expertise. I'll be completely transparent. I have maybe played around with one join report. Any of the other guys or anyone else on the call played around with join reports?
Yeah, I have not. There's a couple of times I've tried to tinker with it. It was a pretty off-the-wall use case that joined reports weren't going to help me with. So I actually haven't come up with that simple enough use case that have allowed me to get enough time to learn them.
Then maybe I should ask this another way. Maybe there's a better way to do it other than joined reports. I basically want a report that shows me information from both the contract object and opportunity products. So it's basically two sort of child objects to opportunities. So I figured my best option was a joined report.
Joined reports is really the only option within Salesforce, unless you have access to another reporting tool, something like a Tableau or some other type of BI reporting system. Otherwise, your only other option is Excel, unfortunately.
Yeah, but if you look at the model, though, there are actually two basically, objects that maybe have one common in the field. But I think the reason why Salesforce may not allow you to do it is because they both have child records. So to display those child records for the contract and the opportunity would be difficult in just the UI if I'm thinking about how the data model works. Because yeah, you'll have a contract associated to an opportunity, but the contract will also have line items, but you also have your opportunity line items which are below your opportunity. So how are you even expecting for that to be displayed and joined? And I think that type of complexity is why it's probably not available in the Salesforce platform. If you look at Salesforce reporting today, you actually have to be able to get to it in a sort of bottom-up type thing. So for instance, I can go all the way up from opportunity line items to opportunity to account and go upwards. But for a lot of reasons, I'm unable to actually build a report that compares both of them and joins them. Because then your question is, well, how in the Salesforce model, because if you think of it as out-of-the-box functionality, how are you even expecting for that to sort of be displayed?
Yeah, well, I was hoping because of the joined report situation, but maybe not.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not a great use case for joint reports because of the way the data model is. But I mean, the question is for instance, if you were to lay out your report from left to right, how would you expect it to be displayed? Because I mean, it's probably a great thing to mention to Salesforce, even post an idea about if there's something that you need it for. What's the use case, I guess? Yeah,
it would be like have the opportunity sort of span across the two reports at the top, and then have on my like opportunity product report side have a list of the products under that opportunity, and then the next section over, like, you know, my next block on the report have contract elements that are in a contract record that are tied to the same opportunity.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer you a homework assignment because I do think that this is something that we want to look at. But if you would mock this up, so if you ever been on the Ideas Exchange before, basically a lot of people just basically put a snapshot of what they think the report should look like. So if you are able to send me or tweet me a picture of what that looks like, what I can do is I can go back to the MVP group and say, hey guys, what do you think about this? Has anyone done this before? And we'll also post it on we should also post it on Answers to see if anyone else has done it before. And then let's sort of crowdsource the different ideas. And if it's something that people have a common need for, then obviously we should tag it as not, it doesn't meet the functionality today, but obviously put it in the queue for something that other people can take advantage of tomorrow. But I think if we were able to visually picture that, I think it would be a lot easier for us to answer the question.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you.
All right, hey, no problem. Cool, let's move on to the next one. Jackie, out there?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Do you want to state your question, and then we'll turn it over to Jason?
Sure, absolutely. I'm looking for ideas to track time by activity. So the scenario is, let's say it takes 3 days for someone to put together a proposal or gather the data for a proposal. But obviously it's not 8 hours every day. So if day 1 it would be 4 hours, day 2 it would be 3 hours, day 3 might be 30 minutes. So that's 7 hours and 30 minutes. Trying to figure out how to, one, track the time, even if it's a manual entry in a specific field, then obviously a formula field to calculate all of that, or maybe a roll-up summary or something, a formula field, and then display that on the task itself or the activity. I'm not exactly sure how to go about it.
Yeah, so how are you aggregating it together? So in your scenario it was 7.5 total hours. Where is it exactly that you're trying to aggregate that? Is that on an opportunity? Do you have it as a custom object? Where is that actually being aggregated?
I would imagine it would be aggregated on, that's a good question. Probably so we'd have to aggregate it on the actual task itself. I think just on the task.
So here's where that'll get a little bit tricky. So if you want to just track the fact that it was 7.5 hours, that's not that tricky except for like the user experience. Like you could just have wherever it is you're logging it on a task or a field on an opportunity or something, it's just a number field. And on the first day, they change it from 0 to 4. Then on the second day, they change it from 4 to 7. Then on the third day, they change it from 7 to 7.5. But you don't necessarily then retain any metrics around, well, it was 3 days worth of time. You just know that the total was 7.5. If that's all you want, that's pretty easy. Go for it.
Yeah.
There's some other options, though, depending on how robust you want to get. So like I'll give you a scenario where I've done this before, where it was for our professional services team. We had a custom object set up that they were doing all of their project tracking from. And they wanted to be able to log all their time against the project. And they wanted to be able to segment out how much time they were spending at a time. Now, that could have been an hour, and then they broke for lunch, and then another hour on the same day, and then the next day they spent 2 hours, and then the next day they spent another 2 hours. They want to be able to break out those line items to date and time, and then how long it took. And so there's a few options you can use to get to something like that. So one of them using pure native functionality, no code required in Salesforce, is you create a custom object, set it as a master detail relationship to whatever it is you're rolling it up to. In this case, it was a project record. And then you use standard roll-up summaries to say sum all the duration of time so that each time entry was 4, 3.5, rolls up to the project record as 7.5. That's pretty easy to do. You can set that up if you're comfortable in the configuration process. That's like a 15-minute task in Salesforce configuration. That's pretty easy. However, in our case, we wanted it to be slightly more robust than that. We didn't want the the professional services people to have to double enter all their time because they were managing their scheduling using the calendar function. So they already had, excuse me, they already had an entry in their calendar that said, okay, on May 24th from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm meeting with this person, or that I did meet with this person. Well, that event already knows it was 1 hour. We don't want to then have to make the rep also have to go, they've already entered their calendar event, to then also have to go enter their time. So we created a little bit of Apex code that syncs that event with the master detail relationship. Now we did it that way because it's difficult. You can't use standard functionality to roll up tasks and events to a parent record. So when you're saying we want to track that time on a task, so I log a task today for 4 hours, I log a task today for 3 hours, I log a task today for 0.5 hours. There's no native functionality to roll that up. So we create a very simple Apex trigger that says, well, when this event is created or updated, sync it with a time log entry in this custom object. Then we did the roll-up summary using the standard functionality off of this child object. So then there's now a tool on the App Exchange that didn't exist when I did that 2 years ago, so I would approach that problem differently today, because you can go buy an app called Rollup Helper on the App Exchange. So that would allow you then to say, well, I want to use tasks, so I log a task for 4 hours, I log a task for 3 hours, I log a task for half an hour. And I want to roll that up to whatever the task is related to. I want to roll it up to the account, to the opportunity, to the whatever. And Rollup Helper on the App Exchange will allow you to do roll-ups from tasks to the related records. So that involves money, so you have to go buy it. But it's cheaper than having to create your own Apex like we did in my last org. So there's like 3 different options there for you to consider, and it kind of depends on what's the desired state, how do I want to report on it, and how much granularity do I need to analyze the time entries.
Okay. Well, that is helpful, absolutely. So if I were to go the route of the custom object related to, let's say, I guess related to tasks, there'd be a line item record for each time spent.
You actually can't create a custom object related to a task. So it would have to be against whatever it is they're ultimately tracking. So if they're saying, it sounds to me like it's probably an opportunity. Is that correct? I'm generating a proposal, so I'm assuming opportunity, or what is the situation they're generating the proposal for?
It actually could start at the lead. So it could start at the lead before they convert it, because their sales cycle actually starts at the lead level.
So you wouldn't actually, in that case, then be able to, so here's one of the quirks about master detail relationship stuff is, the master detail relationship then becomes required. So if I set master detail of a custom object to a lead, then lead will always be required. I can't use the same object then to also relate to an opportunity or to an account. So that's then either A, modify the process so that if you're at the point you're actually doing research and doing a proposal, that may be enough to actually create an opportunity. So then that you would convert the lead to the opportunity at that point, have a child object master detail relationship to opportunity to track time, and then use a simple roll-up summary there. If they can't change their process to that, then you're into something where you're probably going to need to use Rollup Helper. So then you would create a child object. It could have lookups to both lead and account and opportunity, and you've got to account for that. There'd be a little bit of Apex required to make sure the relationship is updated from lead to account and opportunity during conversion. So there's a little bit of Apex required there. But then you can use Rollup Helper to say, well, whatever time is on this custom record, roll that up to the lead, or roll that up to the account, or roll that up to the opportunity. Since you can't do roll-ups through standard lookup fields using standard functionality, is why you would need Rollup Helper to do the roll-up for you.
Okay. All right. Well, that was most helpful. Thank you. You've given me a lot to think about, so that's good.
Okay. Good.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next question out there. Brandon, are you out there?
I am.
Cool. Awesome. You want to go ahead and state your question, and Steve Moe is going to be an expert.
Absolutely. And actually, Steve has helped me with this specific one previously, and fortunately, I found a solution to this. But this question is more for just my own edification and for going forward. Both Steve and Mary helped with my custom. It was a custom object called Programs, and I was trying to attach it to accounts because we were trying to get a count on how many active clients that we had. And fortunately, I was able to figure out a power of one report in order to do that as a workaround. But I wanted to learn a little bit more about the master detail relationship, what the pros and cons of it are, and what side effects come from it. Because the first time I created a master detail relationship between accounts and programs, it had completely invalidated all of the program reports that we had done previously.
Yeah, I mean there are both pros and cons, and with Rollup Helper, you don't need to go down the master detail road. Get a roll-up summary count on a master object or a parent object like you used to. That used to be one of the primary reasons to go master detail as opposed to just parent-child. Among the negative aspects of going master detail versus parent-child, if you go master detail, the child can only be owned by the owner of the master. You can't have an account and then separate using the program or project example, all those projects are now owned by the account owner, and you can't transfer them.
Right.
So if you were to use something, if your child object is meant to be something that can be divvied up and handed out, hey, this is your piece of the pie, this is your piece of the pie, you'd have to create a custom field to another, a custom field to the user object to identify those other users and their connection to the thing. You couldn't use the owner for it. So you can paint yourself into a corner with reporting and stuff like that if you go master detail, and you really don't need that, all the things that come with master detail. Trying to think of some of the other down.
Which, just to elaborate on what Steve was just saying, that can either be good or bad depending on what it is you're trying to do.
Yep.
So I have some situations similar to the one I was just outlining where we have a custom object that I need to have relate to leads, but then also relate to accounts and opportunities when the lead gets converted. I cannot use master detail for that because master detail makes the relationships required. So if it's related to a lead, I have to allow the account relationship to be blank. So I can't use master detail up to the account. Well, in my situation, that's actually kind of causing me some heartburn because I do want the child relationship, the child object, to inherit permissions from the account. So in my case, I would love to be able to use master detail because it inherits permissions from the account and there's no notion of a separate owner. Now, if you do want there to be ownership, which controls things like who can view it, who can edit it, if you're not the owner, I don't want you to see it, or I want you to see it, but I don't want you to edit it, that's when you would want to use a lookup, because then that record will have its own owner. But if you're saying, I don't want to have to manage separate permissions for this object, I want it to inherit permissions from the parent, that's a fantastic use case for master detail.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep, and there's also some considerations around just cascading delete. So it used to be that, when you had a master detail, that if you deleted the master, then all the details would be deleted, but that was not the case for lookup. But now with lookup, you do have that option. So there's a little more flexibility with lookup than there used to be.
Okay, that's good to know.
And this is one that I ran into. I created a custom object for RFPs. And RFPs are connected to accounts, but they also need to be connected to opportunities. And the people that were working on some of these RFPs, they didn't want a full license, a full CRM license. So they didn't have read-write on accounts or opportunities. And then somebody needed some additional, the RFP object grew, and then it was like, well, we should really make this a master detail. As soon as I did that, the people that didn't have full CRM licenses, but because they can't see, they don't even have read access to the opportunity object, they lost RFPs. They lost access to this custom object. So that's one thing. If your org has a blend of full CRM licenses and Chatter Plus licenses, and you go down the master detail route, if it's an object like an opportunity that only a full-blown CRM user has access to, you could run into some problems there with like what the non-CRM licensed users can see if you go master detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, the way around that is you can create formula fields that I'm pretty sure they can still see. You could create a formula field that goes through the lookup field to the opportunity, basically like a junction object. They would have formula fields that display the information on the object that they can't see. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Safe harbor.
Yeah, great. I think that answers that question. And then I had a second question. I'm studying to get certified in a 201, and then I'm probably going to go on to the advanced as well. What are the best resources that you guys would suggest for that?
Are you a Premier Support customer?
Say again?
Do you have Premier Support through Salesforce?
I don't. Yeah, we're
Bummer.
professional.
So the reason I ask is because they have several training videos available in the Help and Training site if you're a Premier Support customer.
Right. Yeah, I have access to about 3 of them.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you taken any of the? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, have you taken any of the classes yet? Or
I have.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. My company's deciding whether they want to make the expense or if there are any other third-party ways of getting educated on it.
If you are a nonprofit, you do get a discount on the training, so you definitely would want to talk to your account executive about that.
Okay.
But I would say if you look at just online, there you go. There it is, the study guide. I have found the study guide to be extremely accurate in terms of what is on the test, in terms of the percentages. Definitely, for me, I don't use all of these things every day, so you might want to focus on the areas that you don't use all the time. I don't really use certain things that are on the study guide. But I really say that if you don't have access to Premier Support, the best way is to get yourself a dev org if you don't have one already, and start creating, and going through and creating a fake organization, using some of these concepts of setting up a role hierarchy and creating security and things like that, just so that you have a sort of sandbox to play in. And I think that is going to be a good way to study for the exam.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you go get your dev org, there's a whole tab of workbook tutorials, and they're specific to building custom objects, fields, stuff like that on the platform. There's another workbook that's specifically for analytics, reports, and dashboards, and they're great. They break stuff like building on the platform into these bite-sized 15 to 20-minute long tutorials in a week. You could bang out 5 or 6 chapters on your lunch break. They're great screenshots, step by step, and they're actually, I'm pretty sure that they're written specifically to go along with the plain vanilla out of the box dev org that you get. The exercises are actually built around that, what you get with a dev org. And dev orgs are just, they're awesome. I mean, one of the nicest things about them, for me personally, when you get it, it's already loaded with dummy accounts, contacts, opportunities, cases, leads, like dummy data, which is do you really want to spend half a day working on a workflow rule or a process and then have to insert dummy accounts, dummy contacts, dummy leads, and fill in all those required fields just so you can test your custom button and make sure it doesn't cause your next door neighbor's printer to catch on fire every time you click on it. Oh, you want to just build your formula and test it, and go on to the next thing and test it. So, I mean, I can't say enough about the DevOrgs.
Yep. And it's free.
I've got 3 DevOrgs myself, so definitely go sign up for one. I mean, I use them for different things, depending on, you don't necessarily want to mix and match all your little projects together. So, yeah, I've wound up with 3 over time. So definitely go sign up for it. The other thing I was going to suggest, in addition to everything Steve and Mary said, was there's also, if you don't have access to Premier Support to watch those videos and do your own self-study, because those videos are actually pretty darn good. That's how I got mine. But if you don't have access to them, there's a study group out on LinkedIn that you can get on. Otherwise, see if you can rally, and I put it in the chat window. I don't know if you've seen that already. So hop up to that group on LinkedIn, get involved. Otherwise, we're doing this, a subset of our Seattle area Salesforce user group is trying to put together our own little study group. And so there's a few people who want to get certified. I'm probably going to dive in and help them out since I've already gone through it myself. So see if you can rally a few other people who are interested. And maybe you get lucky that someone else in your study group does have Premier Support and you guys can watch the videos together. Otherwise, it's just kind of kindred spirits. You guys are learning the same thing at the same time. You have different people with different perspectives to help you get the answers you need.
Yep, and I just to reiterate about the DevOrg, as Steve was mentioning, because you are probably used to some of the nonprofit terminology, it's going to be really important that you practice in the DevOrg because the terminology can be different between what you see in like the nonprofit starter pack versus what you see in the plain vanilla Salesforce.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot in my studies because we don't even use things like assets, and we use campaigns through vertical response, so we don't even have any campaigns that are set in here. So.
Yep.
But yeah, great. Kind of funny. My internet went down about 10 minutes ago, so I don't have the link. But I can reach out to you guys afterwards to get the specific link to the study group and stuff like that. But I think that really answered the question. That's fantastic.
Great.
And yes, I owe you a beer.
Sorry, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so let's keep on going here. I'll send the link to you, Brendan, so you can get the link to the study group. I'll send it to you via email right now. Next one is Mora Sherry?
Mohit?
No, there's Moa Sherry. Doesn't look like she's on. All right, next one is Mohit. So here, you can go ahead and state your question. I've started doing some homework on it, but go ahead and state your question. And I think I have some more questions on what exactly you're speaking of here. And maybe if you can share your screen, that would be awesome too.
Oh, okay. See, we have recently implemented state country pick list, the beta version which has been rolled out by Salesforce a couple of months back. So which were for us to manage store contacts information in a better way, so that based on the selection of the country, we can use the drop down of the state available under the country and select it. But right now it is available only for US, and since we have rolled out Salesforce only for our US users for time being, we thought we will use that, and as and when the pick list is kind of enabled for other country and states, it will help us to expand when we are enabling it for other users of other country. Now, since we have enabled this, now this has kind of impacted the contact information which is available on the profile page of a user. So you have a contact field on the profile page of every Salesforce user, where the user can enter details about his email ID and his country and state. So now the information there is kind of picked up from the state country pick list, which is what we have enabled. So now when we enter, for example, United States as the country and California as the state, first of all, it does not give the drop down as how it gives down in the contact page for state country pick list. So now I have to manually write it down in the same format as how it is there in the state country pick list, and then save it. And when it saves it, it saves the code of the country, which is like US, and the state as California is CA. Now if I go and edit the contact information again and just edit anything else apart from the country or the state and do a save, it gives me an error stating that the country and the state is wrong. Even though the information is correct, you might want to select it from the valid options. Now there is no valid options because there is no drop down, so I have to again write California or United States and do a save. So this can obviously is creating issues with the users because he has saved it once, and even though it has been saved as code, he will not know that he has to change it every time he has to make an update to it and do a save. Does that kind of gives an idea about the question?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first and foremost, I would point you to, if you just go to Google and type in country pick list, and then Matt Lamb. Matt Lamb is also a Salesforce MVP, and he's written a couple of blogs that he has up on the Aperio blog around the pros and the cons of enabling the state and country pick list. It is in beta. It's only for U.S., and a lot of times for the global organizations, we normally recommend not using it until it gets a little bit more robust. But for the U.S. organizations, I haven't experienced this on the user objects yet, but I do know that when you do enable it, it's across all of the state and country fields across the whole entire org. And the old fields should become read-only, and the new fields should then do pick list. Do you have the ability to maybe show us a screen share of what you're experiencing?
Yeah, how do I do it? Through webcam?
Yeah, well, let me see if I can promote you to an organizer. Let's see if that works. And yeah, so I just gave you access. So are you able to share your screen?
Just a moment. I was actually selecting my webcam, so I think I got disconnected. I just joined again.
Have either of you guys played with the state pick list? I'm not familiar with the that functionality on the user record, but I'm sure it expands all of the objects. But I feel like all of us have sort of like stayed clear from it.
Just a moment.
Do you know what org you're working in? What version?
Who, we?
Yeah.
It's the production, and enterprise edition.
Okay, it's on enterprise.
Yeah. Okay, I've just logged in again, so can I just try to, how do I share now? Can you?
I don't see who you are. Hang on. Let's give you grant control of desktop request control. There you go.
Yes, okay.
And then you should see an option to share your desktop.
It says you are being promoted to a presenter. If you do not see progress within several seconds, click on the link below. Having trouble, it has to download something.
All right, cool. Let's go to the next question, and then let's go back. So do we have a person that we have a question about how permission sets. This come from, all right, this is anonymous. Does this really come from somebody? All right, so is there anyone on the phone that wants to go over chain sets? If not, we can probably skip to the next one and come back to that.
I should
all right, and then okay, cool. I think that's all we had. And then I think that there's one more question that we had out there. Arful, did you have a question?
Yep. Can I ask you another question in regards to converting leads to opportunities?
Sure.
Now, this is also very basic, but sometimes you might have a lead that will turn into opportunities, or sometimes it'll just turn into a contact, right? No more opportunities. What are the steps in going through these two directions?
What are the steps to do what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you clarify the question? What is it? Are you trying to prevent one and enforce another, or are you just curious? Can you clarify what you were asking?
Yeah, so let's say one of the leads, that we see that as an opportunity, right? And we're about to close the deal, and so we can convert that into an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At the same time, some of the leads, they fall off the list and they just become a contact.
Correct.
So how does that work? Like, I've never done one before. So, like, are there options while you're converting the leads to these two different categories? Like it says, what do you want to turn that into?
Yeah. Let me see if I can log into a DevOrg and see. So basically, what you said is absolutely correct. When I have a DevOrg, I have the ability to have a lead, and then when I convert it, it goes into a lead. It goes from a lead to an account, a contact, and an opportunity. But when you're on the lead conversion screen that is specific to Salesforce, there is an option to there's a lead convert page, and you can either choose which account. I can't get into my demo org. There is an option for you to choose which account it's associated to, as well as which account it gets associated to, as well as if you want to be able to create the opportunity or not. I'm trying to log into my DevOrg right now, but it's not working.
Sorry for interruption. Mohit here. I think I am the presenter now, so I hope people are able to see my screen. So
what do you guys see on the screen? Do you guys see Salesforce?
We're seeing Eventbrite
logo? Cool.
Yeah.
So let me just go over the lead conversion real quick. This is a demo org. But for instance, if I have a lead, and let's say it's this guy here, when I press convert, it goes to a conversion page. And then I can choose who the record owner is going to be. I can choose whether I want to send an email. By default, it's going to try to find an account. If it doesn't find that account name, it's going to have the option to create. But you can also use the lookup here to be able to point it to a different account if it already exists under a different name. It allows you to specify the opportunity. And if you don't want to create an opportunity for it, which means you just want to merge the lead into an existing account, you can check this box here. Everything underneath that is going to be optional. Even though these are required here, it will let you save the record, and it will convert it to a lead, contact, and account from there.
Can I ask you a question? I'm with Aeroful, and it's along the same question. It's very basic. Like I need an intro call, and so I don't want to bore any of the other callers because those are pretty complex issues. But we deal retail, and a lot of the clients that come in, they don't have businesses, and so they're not a traditional account. So how do we, Jane Doe, she gives us a business card, and we put that in as an account?
It really depends on your sales process, right?
Yeah.
So if Jane Doe usually gives you a business card and they're not necessarily transacting with you, then it's probably best suited as a lead. Now, one of the key factors that always go into it is on the lead, you're only able to store one set of one person's contact information. So you have a first name, you have a last name, you have a company, and then you have a set of phone numbers. So the minute that you start engaging with maybe multiple people at the same company, that's probably the best way to turn it into an account. That way you can track the account with multiple contacts. So a lot of organizations, while they're still marketing to the person and having several basic conversations to still see whether there's an opportunity there, they will use the lead object if it's a one-to-one relationship, one person working on it, and it's really just a business card, right? But the minute that you're dealing with multiple people, it's usually better to turn it into an account and then leverage a status pick list field on the account to determine whether it's a it's a prospect account or whether it's an account that has really transacted with you. Do you guys have any other feedback on that?
So if if they're just people who aren't working, the account could be called retired. Is that what you're saying?
No, you would still have one account for every account that you had. So, for instance, if I am marketing to ABC stamps, right? They'll be a lead.
But Chair, just before you go, I don't want to waste your time. I want to try and help channel the question better. And sorry for jumping in. It's just that we deal specifically with retail, people who don't have companies to associate with. So with ACT, it was so easy. I put in Jane Doe, and she always stayed Jane Doe.
Yeah.
Have you looked into the person accounts features?
Yeah.
No.
So
some
people
more consumer.
Yeah, exactly. The person account feature is really more about B2C type transactions.
Okay.
Introducing that, we can't cover all the complexities of it in the next minute and a half, but it's something to look into. Just realize that there are some quirks about it. Don't take the decision lightly and just be like, oh, I'm going to turn on person accounts. No big deal. Well, it is kind of a little bit of a big deal, so just test it. Like we were talking about earlier, get a dev org. Try it out in your dev org or try it out in a sandbox. Research it so that you understand that there are certain quirks. You're going to run into some things every now and then where it's like, oh, there's this great feature that doesn't work on person accounts. So look into it though, because that's really what Salesforce has implemented for B2C type transactions, and would probably work pretty well for your needs.
Okay. Good.
All right, cool. All right, so Mohit, I just
gave
you rights again. All right, there you go. So what? Last question. I can see your screen.
Mohit here. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So this is the user page. This is my page. So I go to this contact field over here, and then if you see, there is information on city, state, and country. So this is basically picking up from the country list. So for example, if I put United States and put California, I'll save all, it will save because that's the information and that's how it is mentioned in state country pick list. Now, just a moment, I think it's a little slow. Okay, so now it's come over here. So if you see here, it's stored as the code of the country and the state. So now when I go to edit back again, it is stored as the state, as the code and the country. Now if I just change or add something else over here and do a save, it will not let me save because it says there's a problem with this country. Even though it may appear correct, please select a country from the list of valid countries. Now how do I select a valid list when I do not have a pick list from here? But in the contact page where I'm using this, it shows me as a pick list, but not here. So it again stores it as a code, and I have to again write it, for example, again like this, and then I have to write it as because even if I keep it as California CA, and if I save it, it will not let me save because it will say it's an error because in the pick list it is mentioned full name. So I have to again mention as California and then do a save, it will save it. So that's the problem. Now if you see here, even if I store India, which is the country I'm storing, even the state country pick list mapping is not there. So I will leave state as empty and I'll save it. It will store the code of the country, which is IN. So when I go back here, it will show me IN, and if I save it, it will not allow me because IN is the code and I have to again store the full name of the country. So
yeah, that's a great thing. I actually see this as being a bug. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, that's definitely a bug.
That's a bug, yeah.
and Salesforce is going to tell you that's why this is a beta.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
This is definitely a bug. Absolutely a bug.
Beta obviously means that it has less functionality, but it should be error-free, right?
Not necessarily.
It depends.
Fully featured, but prone to bugs is how I've had it described to me before.
Oh, okay.
I would definitely open a case on this. That's a great catch, actually.
Absolutely,
That's huge. It's definitely a gap in the functionality, and we should definitely get this reported up as you know, if you can. I'll mention it as well to a couple of other people. but definitely open a case with Salesforce. And if you get any challenges or pushback, definitely do reach out to one of us, and we can sort of move that. But I will do what I can on our side to make sure that.
So will you get in touch with me? How do I keep a tab on this? I mean, will someone get in touch with me, or will someone keep me updated?
Right. You should go ahead and open a case in your production org with Salesforce, and that's how you'll be kept updated. I'm just going to socialize it with a couple other people. Periodically we meet with the product team and things like that, and we take things that we see from the community back to the product management team. But the official route for you to get visibility to this would be to open a case with Salesforce.com.
Sure. I'll do that immediately. Okay, yeah, do that. Yeah.
Thanks. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for everyone who's been on the call. I think we got through all the questions. Definitely some refining to do for the next one. We're actually going to try to do topic-based MVP office hours going forward to focus the subject areas. So lots of new stuff coming, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining.
But how often do you have this call? How often do you have this?
It's every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, and the same time remains the same? Is always 9:30? Yep. Okay. Okay, correct. Fine. Okay, thanks. Right, I get a request for the next one too. I mean, I hope to get the request.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right, bye guys.
Bye all.
Bye.
Thank you. Please stand by.